house today at our special Environmental Protection Committee. And we appreciate everybody clearing their schedule to be here. And so we're going to ask for the approval. Does anybody have any changes to the minutes from the last meeting? No? Okay, then they are approved. And today we're going to be speaking with multiple people. We have Sydney Johnson, our Deputy County Executive for Physical Services, Odine Dyer, who is our new Commissioner of the Department of Water and Environment Protection, and Eric Schuler, who is a Deputy Commissioner over at WEP. I just want to start off by saying we're not going to be taking a vote on this today. This is a lot of information, 414 or something pages that were not in front of us until Friday, so that is not, in my opinion, enough time, and I know some of my colleagues' opinion, enough time for due diligence, so we appreciate the discussion today. And there's a lot on here to consider. So this resolution 1A, basically we're looking at a seeker, which is the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and it's layman's terms, making sure that we're doing due diligence over at our Oak Orchard maintenance facility, because not maintenance, wastewater treatment facility, where we're going to be doing some maintenance and improvements, and we just want to make sure that we're good stewards of our environment, and we need to make sure that there's not going to be an impact. And the executive branch is asking for us to do what's called, to implement a negative declaration. And Sid and team are going to explain that in a little bit, but the floor is yours. So first I want to ask you to walk people through exactly what is happening over at the wastewater treatment, the different components, Micron versus private people. Take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, everybody. So you have a very strong and energetic WEP team here before you, so I'm just here assisting. We are here today to talk about the request for a negative declaration on the seeker. So what that means is that we've done a thorough study of the area in terms of impact to the environment that may occur, and we believe that there is very minimal disturbance to the area for the work that will be done out there. The work that will be done at the Oak Orchard Municipal Plant is upgrade and expansion. It is for the ensured capability and capacity of that treatment plant to serve the ratepayers who live in that area, to serve commercial business that's in that area. So this project is really about growth in the county. This is exactly what this project is about. It's about growth and being able to support the development, the residential and economic development for that area of the county. Seeker, you all I'm sure saw it, and it is a lengthy document. Julie's right. But what it really tries to do is explain, all the different areas that could be impacted and what we believe the result of the study is. And I think if you went through it, you'll see that there's really no disturbance or very minimal disturbance to that area. I guess I'll add to that, and then I'll let my colleagues add on any place. I think what's really important is that we want to make sure that there's adequate capacity, but it's within existing campus. This facility is there today. This isn't brand new, ground up build. This is about expanding, improving the infrastructure for our community and within our county. And I think that's a critical part. We are looking to upgrade the infrastructure. We're looking to add capacity back in. And at that point, and let me just add, in the seeker, I think you'll see there's some good basic description of the project, and I think that's a 2-page part. And that really tells you everything that's going to get touched out there. And it will be what I think, and Mayor can correct us because he handles projects. It is a comprehensive upgrade to the system, which I think is well needed out there.
Okay, so I'm not sure who, maybe it is Eric, when, in regards to the project, from my understanding, at a very high level, there is a piece of it that services just the community, and there's a piece that is more commercial, am I correct? Or how do you describe the facilities?
Yeah, and I'll jump in.
Okay. So this project is solely municipal related, right? So you have all of your flows, commercial, residential, et cetera, that come to this facility. It's all treated in the same manner.
Okay, so this, what we're being asked to do a negative declaration on is for neighbors, community. This has nothing to do with
Community
that,
growth.
correct? Okay, I just want to be right.
So so the negative declaration request is about, is there going to be any impact to the environmental surroundings as these improvements get done? And again, and I think that's what Eric just pointed out, that this is work that's all about the municipal plan.
So there's not 1 centimeter outside an existing footprint over at what we're being asked to.
It's on that campus as it exists today.
Yes, on the campus.
So one of so you look at, the minimal impact on the environment, which is what you stated. How is that determined? It's not the EIS, that's separate. Or is this because it was existing? Like how, you're asking us to do a negative declaration. What qualifies that determination that there will be no significant impact?
I think that. So everything is looked at from like air impacts, stormwater, noise impacts, all the way down, right? And a big part of this is it area that was previously disturbed? Everything that is being proposed to be constructed for the municipal treatment plant is being built on areas that were all previously disturbed when that initial campus was being built out.
Okay. Does anybody have anything?
Like in general?
Yeah, I mean, I can keep going. I have 4 more questions.
Yeah.
Go, Dan, do you have something?
Yeah, I mean, I have specifics. On page 8, it talks about 1.6 tons of landfill biosolids. Well, I assume that doesn't include the biosolids that are going to be created from the work that's being done there, right? Like, once we treat it, we have biosolid waste that's going to need to be taken care of, right? Is it found somewhere else and I just missed it? Yeah.
So we currently produce biosolids out of that treatment plant.
Yeah.
That's essentially hauled to like our metro campus and it's processed there. One thing that's being looked at for this project is biosolids processing at Hope Orchard to take some of that burden off of our metro campus. Did that answer your question?
So there's no real increase, it's just moving where it is, so that's why it's only 0.16?
So any increase would be based on growth, community growth. But looking at the steady state of today, then no, it's essentially a net even.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what the 0.16 is like nothing, Okay, so it's just a movement, so that's why it doesn't take into account what biosolids are going to be created from the facility itself. Okay. And page 9 talks about no treatment of hazardous waste. Isn't what we're producing hazardous waste and then moving out?
No, EPA has very explicit definitions for what hazardous waste actually is, and municipal wastewater, that is not classified as hazardous waste.
Okay. Even when we take out the clean water aspect of it and have what's left and we're shipping that out?
No, so what you're taking out, a lot of times what's left is that those residual biosolids.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, depending on the treatment, you can bring those to a level where you could have beneficial reuse. But that, typically, it just goes right back into a landfill. And again, we're not discharging to a hazardous waste landfill per se. It's municipal waste has its own classification.
Yeah, I have a question, yeah. Page 8 says operational noise is not expected to increase above existing levels. Like, what is the baseline that we use and how are we tracking it?
So we're talking about just operating state. So operating state, I don't have that
We
DB
could get
memorized. We can get that to you, but it's looking at existing equipment, right? What are those dB ratings? And typically when you're upgrading equipment, you're bringing in different sound attenuation to reduce noise levels. You might have some equipment that's at that same dB level, but the intent is to not create a condition that is worse than existing. You always want to design to try to at least meet existing and try to exceed that.
And you have to consider also the machines and the pumps and such that are at the plant now, they're older, so the newer items that we bring in will meet current standards.
But most of the thing about during the construction period, we're like all in and out. I'm imagining the noise is gonna be increased. But that is good to know that we're gonna be bringing in lower things. It kind of segues into my second question about like odor and complaint tracking system. Like if people complain, will that be tracked, and what will the follow-up look like?
Yeah, so we have our internal procedures, right? When there is a odor complaint, it goes through our internal process, and we make sure that we look into each and every situation. And the goal essentially is to make sure we don't have odors, right? And the upgraded or the newer assets that we're going to be putting in will also consider odor control in that whole envelope.
Thank you.
And let me just throw in, and I think that's one of the key benefits to this project. We're upgrading the machinery, the equipment, the processes, the technology. So we expect we're going to get some real efficiency out of it that may not be there today.
So I just wanted to ask about, can you just walk us through, because we're responsible for this, but.
Well, also
when
the
you-
timeline, it's like, you know, it's years like between phases, correct?
Right.
You just
Yes.
like walk us through that timeline.
I want the capacity, just what kind of expansion are you talking? Taking it from what to what, timeline, and then after that, and I'll remind you, I want you to walk us through what happens with a negative declaration. Like, what are the steps? Is there still public comment? Is there a notice to the community, et cetera? So start, please, with what Deb was talking about. Thanks.
As far as the timeline goes, we have an internal schedule. It's not memorized, so we can get that to you. The construction will happen in phases, right? And we have we essentially have a process where the document shows, all right, first it'll be, you know, this tank that's installed first, and then this tank that's installed next. But we will have to get that information to you because we don't have it off the top of our head.
Yeah, there's a series of components. There's about 4 or 5 components, and I always count wrong, so forgive me. And it's sequenced to work. So as each one comes on, obviously, then we can go to the next part of the upgrade. So we're talking about a bridging project that allows us to take one of our systems offline, but we can still guarantee and ensure capacity. And hopefully we get a little extra capacity out of that. We will then go to the upgrades. So that will take in, and Eric will correct me because I'm a student here, our digesters, our liquids, thickening, all the things that go on to that part of the process of the wastewater facility. After that, we really will start to look at our biosolids. That will be the next section, and then we'll keep moving up from that point. And I think we have reused water in there too.
What's the capacity increase on it?
So I think we're looking about 10 you're gonna get out of it.
We're going up to 15, I think,
15,
14.72 exactly, I think, but.
And peak goes much higher. So peak goes up to about 25, I think.
Close to 30, yeah.
You said
Yeah.
What does that, and what does that mean, like, in terms of, like, we'll be able to service XYZ more neighborhoods? Can you give us any sort of roundabout, like, and it's okay if you can't, I'm just curious.
And we're working on that internal document.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
We're put together, it's called EDUs, equivalent dwelling units, and we're trying to figure out exactly how many EDUs that will
Okay.
equate to, but we will have to have that information.
Thank you, yep, okay.
Can you explain that, when you said that the capacity is gonna be 15 and the 25 is? How
For
do those?
peak periods.
I'll take it. Yeah. So with sanitary sewer systems in general, especially, well, we look in the Syracuse area, older ones, right? When you're dealing with periods of peak, sanitary sewer flows change throughout the day, right? You got people getting ready in the morning, right? It raises up significantly then, and it will, drop off as the day goes on. It's almost like it's called like a diurnal curve. But also areas that have storm sewer connections, you see significant peaking factors during rain events.
Yeah.
So like at a treatment plant, that's where you really notice that. You have all these pump stations, et cetera, that are feeding into, say, trunk sewers or force mains, and then it hits a treatment plant and your flow spikes significantly until those extraneous flows drop off.
Okay. But wouldn't the capacity then be 25 and not 15?
No, peak day, you're looking at a very finite period. for
Okay, so
peak.
15 would be like for the day, 25 is like for the moment in time.
Yep, you design around, say, maybe not an average day, but maybe an average month or a max month, right? Peaking factors, you have to be ready to hydraulically accommodate that flow through the plant, but it's not meant to or not designed to take that flow continuously through the entire plant, because that's just not how, weather, et cetera, works, right?
Yeah.
So I imagine there would be like a temporal component there where you could sustain this level of flow for this period of time, but not throughout the day, obviously.
At that point, we run the risk of burning up pumps and assets and such. So.
Yeah.
And are those metrics in thousands of gallons? Is that correct?
Millions and millions.
Millions of gallons, okay.
Oh, yeah.
And then you said increasing to 14.72, where is it at today?
So it's rated at, our permit says 10.
Okay.
Due to, we're more so limited a little bit less than 10, just because of certain constraints with our older equipment. So we are looking at a significant capacity increase to support growth.
And you mentioned like biosolid processing being a new thing that might be coming to Oak Orchard as part of this project. How much of this project is simply upgrading the capacity, how much we're able to process, and what other things are we looking at that would be new, like the biosolid processing, for example?
Biosolids, and then, if this includes also like a reclaimed water plant. So, which is you take wastewater effluent, then you treat that to a very high quality to then sell to users.
Can I jump off of that? Is the, and I don't know what it's called, the methane to energy that we're transitioning to at Metro with National Grid right now?
Cogens, yep.
Yeah,
Come on, Dan.
Yeah. Are we doing that here?
That is not being looked at right now. That would be something down the road where the county could look at including that as a potential. But we are not looking at doing energy capture per se. We'd be harnessing that methane gas, not putting it right back into the grid, using that for on-site, like to support our boilers, et cetera. So you're not just burning it to the atmosphere. It would be
Okay,
actually.
so where are we using it? Just in the
Yeah, not, so at the Metro campus, it's being put back into the grid.
Okay.
Not looking to do that per se.
Can you walk us through the negative declaration? We always want to be transparent, and we're stewards of our communities. And by doing this, and by no means am I judging or saying, oh, we should, because it's an existing facility. And I think a lot of what I have heard, I think, this could be I think we may qualify for this. Like I might be putting my name on this and saying, yes, you can do this. How do we ensure, so walk us through the process, I guess, of if you do a negative declaration, what does that mean? You apply with this document, but then are there, like in transparency to the public, are you required to put out the report? I just want to know that when people ask.
So, and I'll ask for help here from our team, but let me start with the beginning part of the secret. We actually go out to our peer agencies and say, this is what we're looking to do. We're gonna give you information to review, and we look for that input and that opinion, would that be a good word, to what we want to do. So it's not, it is not a closed process, let me say that.
Right, so that's part of that's the secret process.
That's in that
Yes.
secret document. But I will also tell you, there's still more steps. So there is a commissioner's hearing, correct, as we go forward, which is public. So this is in no way a closed this study has occurred, it's been done in many levels, and there is a belief and an opinion by all that there is not significant, I won't say change, but there's no environmental concern.
How long is the process? Well, it's New York State. I mean, I don't forget it. A long time.
I'll let you all answer. I have a different.
Typically, you try to hold like 3 months.
Oh, okay.
3 months for the process. I think we
Yeah,
declared.
I thought it was a year and a half.
Well, it can,
Yeah.
it depends, you're kind, as a lead agency, you try to set the timeline that you're trying to accommodate, right? I think we declared lead agency back in August.
Yeah, but, and understand because we're working with the existing.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
we're not starting from scratch.
Dan?
Couple questions. So, page 10 talks about how there was a spill incident and it has an incident number, but it doesn't explain what happened, you know, what that incident was? Or what happened there?
Without the incident number, not off the top of my head, but there could have been, a tanker truck that, had an issue offloading something at the previous treatment plant.
Can we just?
We can get that for you. Yeah.
It's the only one that it mentions, so it's the one that's in there. Is that right?
200-8650. I know that doesn't help you.
Boy,
Yeah, you got that one?
I'd be working. Oh, obviously.
Yeah.
We can get.
And, then my other question, this is over a number of years, right? It's like 12 years, I think it's projected, 13 years, something like that.
33.
What level of change over that time, because, it's all based on projections, we don't know what's gonna happen. What level of change triggers a new seeker or an adjustment to a seeker where you would then have to come back or something different would have to happen?
So I'll take this one.
Yeah.
So as a project's in development, and for each one of the big pieces, core components of this project, we're going to be coming for funding, right? So there will be a MAP plan report that's very detailed, goes through what's involved in that project. As part of that, you are revisiting seeker.
Okay, so
Every single check of that. So when that MAP plan report comes to you guys to look at, that's also another check of, is this compliant with the seeker that was approved on X date? And then if there's changes, then it's essentially, okay, you're going through the process to amend an existing seeker that was brought forward.
Okay, so I'm just gonna repeat that so that I understood. So when you come for funding, it'll say in there that either this aligns with the seeker or these are the things that are different from what you approved in the seeker. And then when we approve that funding, we're also approving those changes that we see.
I would call it more of an off-ramp, right? Because if there's a change, you're gonna pause asking for funding because you need to make sure seeker is compliant before funding is secured.
Okay,
Seeker will always come.
okay, so the seeker would be different, but how much of a change needs to be there for the seeker to need to be approved again, right? Because it's not to the penny, right? I mean, we're not expecting that, but is there a triggering, is there like somebody else that regulates what that triggering number is or change? I don't know if that makes sense.
Is there a change? So you're talking about potential metrics that would be tough to quantify at this phase of a project, right?
Yeah, because they're estimates.
Yeah. When you're going through this at this preliminary level, you're using numbers and metrics that are very, very, very conservative. So you're hoping that you're looking at the worst case scenario right now. What are those worst case impacts?
Yeah.
So then when you're going through the engineering, as your project's progressing, you're refining. And theoretically, you should be giving yourself more of a buffer for error as you are progressing.
Yeah. But at what point is? Am I making sense of my question? So yeah.
Are you asking when would an additional seeker be required?
When is we have flexibility built in here because we want it to be as conservative as possible, and I understand that. And then as we go forward, we're going to see what those differences are in terms of what was projected and what is actually going to happen once you give us a budget. But I would assume, if we're off, it's not, I don't expect it to happen, but let's say we're off by twice as much of something in here, I would assume that it's wow, we need to go back, right? If we're hey, this is way too small, it's booming, we need to, make it 3 times the size, we need to come back.
I mean, it's a question of imagination, I think. you know, suddenly if one of the species of birds in here tomorrow becomes endangered, then I imagine that could, you know, gummy up the words.
That they have to come back though?
I mean, it's,
Like, will they have to come back?
It would.
It wouldn't be.
Yeah, it would be such an overhaul at that point, because in order to give the documentation, the numbers that we had in these secret documents, we had to go through a whole basic design phase, be in, I don't want to say lockstep, but be on the same page with our regulatory partners, because we can't just design something as big as we want, because you have certain constraints.
So my question, or at least my piggyback off it, is low end. Like high end, yeah, if something big happens, we change. But like, let's say you order concrete from John Doe Construction and they go under, but you got to go to Jane Doe Construction. That shouldn't trigger, you know, a whole change in the project. What's the level that needs to be met to trigger that change? Is what I'm getting out of it.
I don't think that's connected.
Just like
That's more.
Yeah, it'd be
The
just
environment.
more purchasing,
Yeah.
more procurement related.
So for each phase though, so there's 4 phases, so for each phase, you kind of revisit the seeker for the next phase.
Confirm
Make
that you're
sure
still
that
in
all of
compliance.
Which we would have to be.
Brian May
So,
just
I'm
wants
just
to.
gonna take a shot, and maybe to help.
Yeah, I mean, I could.
I'm sorry, I'm behind everybody, but,
You got it.
looking at, you're overseen by the regulatory.
Yeah.
Right, so as this project moves forward, if things go off the tracks as far as changes in scope, severity, expectations, whatever they may be, they're the judge and jury, and they're the ones that are gonna say, you know, we're gonna have to revisit this issue, tap the brakes. That's how it plays. It's gonna be a judgment of, I guess, materiality of whatever is out in front of them. So that's, I think, how it plays, right? Pretty much.
And we were, the reason we work closely, remember, yes, there's many regulatory partners. We have DEC, which we meet with weekly. So there's a lot of monitoring. Nothing is done in isolation here, trust me. Yeah.
So that answers my question, thank you. So if a material change that would trigger a reevaluation of seeker would come from some other regulating agency that we're submitting it to, and they'll say, the pump the brakes piece. I think is what I got it from.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One way.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
we can see it ourselves.
Yeah.
Or, you know, just judging from the process in my district when the Second Old Street plant was redone.
Yeah.
DC was there all the time.
Yeah.
They're checking everything to make sure that it's on task, on track.
Yeah, so as long as, because
Yeah.
my thing is like, if you're gonna bring it to us and say, hey, you know, we're gonna change this much.
Right.
Okay, I don't know how much of an impact that has on what we're looking at today, you know, but if, and then somebody else can say, you know, pump the brakes,
Well,
then,
if there's any doubt, we'll be getting the bill.
yeah, yeah.
So, you know, Dan, and it might be helpful.
Thank
If
you.
you look at, in the seeker, all the agencies we
Yeah,
worked with,
yeah.
DEC obviously is there.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
So-
I understand they were
So
involved
all
now.
these are ongoing relationships and partnerships.
And if I could just interject, that's why there's so much backup information attached, like, to like
That's why you
part
got
3.
the-
Yeah.
So like, you got,
There's
no,
a lot
but,
of-
so like, if there is something that's being looked at, is there a change to that impact? It's very easy to go back and see if we are compliant, because we did all of this thorough work right at the front end.
Thank you. Sorry.
No.
some of these might be beyond the scope of this meeting, but just from a, you know, bird's eye view, how did we settle on the figures that we did in terms of, we're anticipating growth in that area of the county? How did we settle on, you know, we'd really like to hit a peak of 25 million gallons and a, you know, sustained average of 14.72 million gallons? Like, what are those numbers based on? Do we anticipate that will be sufficient for the growth that we're expecting in that area?
Yeah, so part of the exercise with our consultant partners, right, was to look at all the available property within that service area, look at the developable property, and apply, you know, I don't want to say factors, but equivalent dwelling unit numbers to each one of those properties to come up with a flow metric based off of those that would then affect the treatment plan. And when it comes to those different peaking factors, that we have a sense of how that plant currently reacts to peaking factors.
Sure.
So we have that experience. And then there's other design standards for new construction, what any type of peaking factors should be that you're designing around. So it's a combination of past with, your current design.
And remember, this project, original work started back 2021.
Yep.
And this has been going on a while.
Yeah.
In terms of preparation and stuff.
And then this may be better for a separate conversation, but obviously, as the legislator in the town of Clay, one of the legislators in the town of Clay, a lot of people have questions about, oh, I see they're putting sewers in this area, and there are a number of people that think, well, maybe I can get on the sewer, and when does that happen? And I think what you mentioned, budget, if I'm not mistaken, is that the residential build out is in the design phase, is that accurate?
A portion of it, and then there's
of it.
going to be additional phases that will
Sure.
also have to come forward.
Okay, so we would be waiting on those phases to be complete before we could answer, this is where the sewer is gonna be, this is who may or may not be able to tap into those things, is that accurate?
Yeah, I think it's some exercise we're going through now.
Okay.
For an
To see
appropriate
if we
deliverable.
can make that a little more comprehensive and user-friendly.
Yep.
I would just plant that seed that we maintain open dialogue on that front and make sure we
Thank
keep
you for
people as
saying
informed
that.
as
Yeah,
possible,
think
so I
we wanna
appreciate it.
Make sure that it's very user-friendly, so we can assist.
Excellent.
And that's why you right-size the treatment plant, right? Because you have to accommodate for, where these sewers are going to come from, who's it going to serve.
So in terms of assessing the footprint as it stands today, is the mission to maximize capacity there and then say 50 years down the road, if we find that we're continuing to grow, is that the point that we look at, all right, we've kind of reached our, we've hit a ceiling on this facility, maybe that's when we expand to, other buildings, other facilities, et cetera.
Yeah, the way we're looking at it, you always have to keep a future condition in mind.
Okay.
So there is in our master site plan, we are withholding space for
Okay.
additional tankage
Good.
to be built, future digesters, things
Yep.
like that, so.
And technology.
Yep, and technologies.
There's probably very interesting unknown things
Yeah.
coming around that will help and may condense down in terms of less space, more efficiency.
That's good.
And
Yeah,
that's
I know
where our-
Legislator Meeker and I were able to tour the, one of the aqua facilities, and they were pointing out, we built this building in 1960 or whatever. We've got these tanks here, and these ones are the ones that we're still sitting on for,
Yeah.
when that need arises. So it's nice to have that, that forward thinking.
So that's where our CIP also comes into play, right? So as we grow, we'll come back to you guys and say, all right, this is what we're looking at next, and we'd like permission to go forward with it. So you'll be,
But I may not be here.
well.
I'll still call you.
I have more gray hair.
They'll be here.
Anybody else?
Drew?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks.
Ryan, Nick?
Step around again, so obviously this is kind of an exciting point, right? It's a milestone material jump off point for the project. We've used terms kind of interchangeably here as far as municipal waste, residential waste. Obviously, this is the water that's not industrial waste that needs special treatment. That's what we're talking about. But is it possible from a rural, and I'm not getting into it today, maybe you can from a simple standpoint, but I think it's really important. Most important for this committee to understand, but also important for the general legislature to understand, of that growth of either municipal or residential, what part of that is actually from commercial growth, utilization? Just so everybody has a level set here of what we're talking about kind of merging into or growing into these new facilities that we're creating.
So you have commercial out there now. You have what's considered residential and commercial, and you have commercial customers out there. So that's part of that growth, because it all goes into the current
Right, with
system.
different rate bases and all that stuff, so,
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah, we get it.
Percentage-wise, I don't know, what do you think right now, commercial versus residential?
Oh.
Heavily residential.
I'm more interested in the growth, and obviously the growth is micron today, supply chain tomorrow, you know, so, I mean, you gotta have some kind of sense in this document
Well,
for what that's gonna be, I would think.
but some of that's industrial, which is totally separate.
Some of it is.
But I'm not talking about the industrial,
Yeah.
because I'm trying to.
Part of our EDU assessment, we can get you a copy of the table. We do have a table breakdown that goes through what is the anticipated commercial users, what are the anticipated residential users.
Forecast.
Forecast, what are those equivalent dwelling units for each one of those? And then it adds up to a total, which we figure out flow based on that.
The percentage, yeah.
That's not in the document, though, it's.
So that's an internal document that we're working on. That's part of, as I mentioned in the budget, you know, we want to be prepared for what's now and also be prepared what's to come in the future. So this internal document is being built to allow us to be more prepared for what's coming in the future, right? It's looking at Oak Orchard and across the entire service area, right, the entire county.
And when it comes to future forecasting with commercial residential growth, all of that has to be included in the basis of design reports that get submitted, reviewed, and approved by DEC. Because they also want to see that same thing that we are thinking of, okay, what is the future? What are we going to be accommodating?
You know, in our standpoint, obviously the next big milestone is talking about farming.
Yep.
So, you know, obviously for tomorrow, for some or all of this, probably all of it. And, you know, we just need to understand how the revenue is going to come in behind this. And if we're not starting this discussion today, it gets more difficult down the road. So that's kind of where I'm going. Thank you.
And while we're at it, because we have a captive audience, explain the difference between commercial and industrial. Like, if you had said to me commercial a couple of years ago, I'd be like, oh, micron, and it's not. So is there, like, how do you, in a general sense for your average Joe we aren't engineers doing this?
No, I'll use an example right in that Oak Orchard service area. Target up in Cicero, commercial. Clinton's Ditch.
Cicero.
There's two targets, the one on Route 11.
He does
One on
know
Route
his
11.
stuff. He knows.
Yeah.
So target there, Clinton's Ditch that you see
Okay.
right there, that's industrial. Okay, so is that a good explanation?
Yeah, it makes
Okay.
sense. Everybody can get that. I mean, just saying. For
There's
those
a
who
targeted
missed
play
that,
as well.
If you're,
So-
I know.
Good distinction to make.
Yeah, okay. Anybody, Mo, did you have something?
I got it, thank you.
Anybody out there have anything?
I will allow myself to ask the non-layman question since Julie didn't want to go down that road, but just this stuff is so fascinating to me, and I think maybe we could make it out to Oak Orchard sometime just to learn more about the processes. But when we talk about things like upgrades and efficiency with the new technology coming on board, from a historical perspective, what are some of the big advancements that we've seen and if you want to do this another time, I understand, but advancements in just wastewater treatment in general. I mean, what technology do we have going forward that we didn't have 20 years ago, and how much has that improved our ability to meet the demands of the community?
Yeah, the biggest thing honestly is what we're looking at implementing here is MBRs, membrane bioreactors. It provides a much cleaner, much higher quality effluent that meets current regulations. As you know, regulations are always changing.
Sure.
That's what drives change in technology at wastewater treatment plants. So currently we're more conventional aeration-based, liquid oxygen-based. Membrane bioreactors, it's more or less like cells that you are passing the liquid through and getting your biological treatment through those instead. But yeah, that's a technology that 25 years ago wasn't super commonplace, and this is going to be a pretty big application of it in New York State.
Exactly. I could do my own deep dive now. So.
Oh yeah.
Is it like
I think it's a good idea too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be an excellent idea.
You know that crazy green light thing that the water
Oh, UV.
Yeah, UV.
Okay,
Yeah.
no, okay.
So this would still
Gonna
have,
send Eric
this
in
would
there
still
with
have
glow
UV.
sticks.
But it's on top of that.
Yeah, so it would go through the membrane bioreactors and then it would go through
The whole
UV.
place,
Yeah.
the incredible.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do have one actually.
Yeah, go for it.
The wetland refill, 2 acres on page 5, will it occur on site? Like where, it says less than 2 acres, so I'm guessing it's not chaos, but just where is it gonna be replaced?
So,
Also, what's the ratio?
so on site, there, if you look, whether you've been out there or look on Google, there's lagoons which aid in some of the wastewater treatment currently. Those would be classified as a wetland. So those are actually going to be filled in with treatment plant processes.
Oh,
But they're, I mean, technically classified as a wetland area. So.
okay, thank you.
And I think there's a full map.
Is there a map in there? Okay.
Anybody else? We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I know this is old hat for you. You're like explaining what your daily job is as
Oh,
an engineer,
no.
but it's extremely helpful for the rest of us who are putting, you know,
Our nerds.
we're representing people, we're looking out. I
it's
know you
fun.
are too. I'm not assuming you're not, but we appreciate the deep dive today. Okay, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Cheers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.